All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the program. I'm very glad you're here. And what I'm going to do today, sometimes the replays on these do, pretty well. I did not announce or promote this particular program on Fireside, and for whatever reason, I got to tell you, the plays on YouTube from Fireside generally do pretty well. So that's all well and good. But for the replays, and so I have a place to document my feelings on today's subject, I just kind of wanted to put something together. So I'll start here in just a moment. I'll give some time for some people to come in. If they don't, they don't. But we'll get started. All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Billy D's podcast. This is kind of like a makeshift live on a Fireside today. And the program, generally titled On Fireside, is called All Things Media. And what I'm going to talk about today is a little bit media and it's a little bit social media. I just kind of want to get a few things out of my system because I've had an interesting couple days here. And I got to tell you, I cannot complain. I absolutely cannot complain about my treatment online. For the most part, it's very good. It's absolutely very good. But there's three categories of what's the word I'm looking for here? Ways that people use their followers. And I don't mean use necessarily in a good way, but kind of drain some value out of them and they don't give back. And here again, this doesn't necessarily impact me that much when it happens to me. But I do feel it's worth talking about because a lot of people may not realize that they're doing it and they're actually costing themselves exposure in terms of brand marketing and other things because they're just not utilizing their relationships online, whether it be more on the media side of things as with podcasting or in the social media side of things as with Twitter and whatever else you may be involved in. Anyway, this first category has to do with people who go on podcast shows as guests. And I'm going to talk about this primarily in the context of coming on a podcast show when you're not being charged. Okay, you are coming on for free. And there are circumstances in which we charge, and I'm sure there's a lot of other shows out there that charge for certain situations. Most of that has to do with production work. If you're doing a lot of preparation for a show, or if you're branding the show on behalf of another organization, they are going to be presenting that show on their own platforms as their own. That's actually more production work. And it's perfectly understandable why people need to charge for that. I wouldn't go as far to say that we never charge here for someone to come on as a guest for the wider show, not necessarily what we do here on Fireside. But it's very rare that we'll get into a situation where somebody is just asking so much of our time that we need. Generally speaking, we're very happy to present someone's content if they're talking about a book, if they're talking about something, and they can do it in a way where it's not an infomercial. It's something that has value in terms of the reader, the potential reader, other writers, giving tips and things like that about writing. So there's a lot of places you can go with that. Survivors, trauma survivors, and all these other things, I always feel have a good value because they're extending their experiences to other people. And even if you don't buy their book or go to their blog or listen to their podcast, anything like that, in that moment when you're listening to them, you're getting value from them. So I'm happy with that. It's generally, me personally, maybe I should be more direct a lot of times when I'm putting something together, I got my hat on today because my hair is messy, but it's generally a given that if you are going to be on a show, that you are going to share that show to your followers, because it's a show like ours, for example, and there's a lot of really good ones, really provide a fantastic professional forum for you to be in. So to me anyway, it seems very logical that you'd want to share that with your followers. And plus all the insights that are on the program. That is something that has value to your followers. So it's generally a given that people who come on the show are going to share in some form links to the show for their followers to listen to. And some people really, do a great job with this. They not only share it multiple times, but they'll put a link to on their website, and they'll do a lot of other things. And then you'll get the occasional person that does virtually nothing. And here again, it's all part of the biz, so to speak. Sometimes that happens. And I don't understand it because, for one, your followers are missing out, having you engage with somebody, bringing up some new points, talking over some great things. Your followers are missing all that. And you would, here again, just logically presume that you'd want to, the person that provided this professional forum to you, you would certainly expect that, you're going to share that out and give that show some exposure, some extra exposure. But I know what happens a lot of times is these marketing people and publishers and all that, they say, go on podcasts, go on as many as you can. So that's the extent of the instruction. And they find myself and a lot of other people on these lists of popular shows, and they just hit them all, playing the odds that a certain number of them will pick them up at some point. And then they just one after the other. They get done with one and, rinse off their hands, go to the next one. And that's kind of their modus of operandi. Here again, I feel that I would do fewer shows maybe as a guest, pick some really good ones and work with those hosts to, cultivate your exposure, so to speak. But sometimes that just doesn't happen. That's here again, sort of something that you have to expect as when you have a show like this or anything else, YouTube channel or whatever. There's just some people that are not going to work with you on the content marketing and pushing it out. Okay, fair enough. I've had this happen, not very often, but it happens enough that, all right, I kind of chalk it up to experience. But recently, this was really, and I'm not going to mention the person's name, and I'm not going to mention any particulars here. But what happened, a relatively very successful author approached the show a while back, and we had this person on. And this was one of those individuals that did virtually nothing to share the program, which here again, I don't understand. They did not share it on their social media. They did not share it on their whatever page, their website, what have you. Here again, I don't understand this. Me personally, the whole point in engaging a popular show is you get presented in like I said, a professional forum. You talk about some good things, and you would certainly expect that your followers would find that quality content. So you get the presentation that is provided by the host, and when you share that, the host also gets some further exposure for their show. So it seems like a win-win. Well, here again, this person did nothing, and I really didn't pay much attention to it. But recently what happened is I noticed that this person wrote up a thing about how to get X amount of exposures, X amount of views by going on podcasts. And of course, I'm sure my numbers were in there as part of the grand total that they came up with, and it was huge. Okay. So I felt like asking this person, did you just go on one show after another, tally up all these numbers, and then do virtually nothing for any of them? And then when this is all said and done, you write something up about how other people should do the same thing. All right. So anyway, that kind of, obviously I noticed it. Okay. I can't say that I didn't notice it. I wouldn't say that it upset me, but this is what, getting back to the title of the show, is don't use people. Don't, and I'm not saying it was intentional. This person may not even be aware that they did it in their mind. Maybe their appearance was gracious enough. But the whole idea when you're doing marketing like this is that you can couple together with other people. And to write something up like that I got all these bazillions of views and listens by going on X amount of podcasts, and you should do the same thing. I don't know. It was that was interesting. I would be very curious as to whether or not this person shared any of those other programs to any other extent. I did go through the posting that this person presented about going on all these shows. There wasn't a mention in that posting about helping the hosts or doing anything for the hosts. So there you go. So anyway, that's something that I personally frown upon. I don't know that that is a good recipe for getting referrals, for getting on, you can get away with that for a while, but eventually it's going to get around that you're a user. And that's not something that I feel in the long run is going to serve you well. There's nothing wrong or illegal with that. It's just if you're going to play the game of working with other people to do promotions and things like that, then you should lift your side of the table. So anyway, that's the first one. And the other thing that happened here just the other day, and here again, this happens all the time on LinkedIn. It happens all the time. And I generally, here again, don't pay any attention to it. It's just part and parcel of what happens on that platform. But I got a real nice message from somebody when saying, I checked out your profile. We have a lot of contacts in common, and I hope you make the decision to join my network. Words to that effect. So it seemed very sincere. So I accepted it, and it wasn't. It was instant, I'm going to say. It was almost like they were waiting right there, or they got a program to go. As soon as you accept it, boom. Okay. I got the sales pitch. Timing is everything. And I don't know that if you're introduced to someone socially, and you're at a party or whatever, you turn around, there's somebody standing there, and somebody you're with says, "Oh, hey, this is John over here." Before you even get hello out of your mouth, so to speak, are you throwing them a sales pitch? Is that how you treat people upon meeting them? I would venture to say that the answer is no. And if you do that, more power to you. But that's not the way you should be behaving at social events. Nobody, at least, it's amazing to me. There's always somebody walking around with a handful of business cards, shaking hands, trying to make appointments. Oh, let me buy you a cup of coffee and go through your insurance and see how I can save you some money and blah, 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 blah. There's always somebody doing those rounds, and it's, how can you avoid them? How, they're going to come around to you, and you're trying to, scoot away. And it always amazes me. Don't be that person. And there's always somebody who's perfectly willing to be that person. Typically, when you go to an event like that, you want to be the star of the show. You want to be the person who's providing some great information. You want to be the person that is a leader. You want to be the person that is considered trusted and helpful. And that is what pays you dividends down the road. It's not only ethically the right thing to do, but it's a great way to market yourself. And a lot of people don't understand that on LinkedIn. I mean, they view LinkedIn as, a bunch of fish swimming around in a tank. And it's an opportunity to try to catch as many as you can that are all confined to the tank. There's really no sportsmanship involved in that. And it really doesn't present you in a good way. If that's the best thing that you can say to somebody right out of the gate, you should be a leader in your industry. You should be a person that's providing valuable information, and you should be a person that is a trusted source of value. You should not be the slick salesman running around with business cards. But anyway, that's the second thing I would not do. So first, to review real quick, if you go on shows, whether they be podcasts, YouTube channels, even if you're a guest on someone's blog, someone's written blog, make sure that you are providing quality content to them. You're not making it sound like an infomercial, and do your best once it's out there to share it to your followers. It's amazing to me too. And this kind of leads us into the third thing about sharing information across the board, not just the stuff you've been involved in. It's not uncommon for creators to share stuff that they're involved in. And here again, it's not 100% that they'll even do that. But generally speaking, most people will share things that they're involved in to some extent. And that's good because that helps the person that you've created that with, and it helps you. But it also helps to share things that you weren't directly involved in. I work in conjunction with a number of different publishers and a number of different marketing people, all of which have a little group of authors that they work with. Sometimes it's just a few, sometimes it can be several dozen. And when I help these publishers and all that create content with these individual creators, most of them are writers, they'll at least share, because their publisher, I presume, has told them to, the interview or whatever it is. And it would be really great if these people that are all in the same group would actually share each other's stuff, not for any reason that they're involved in it. But imagine if you had, several dozen authors or several dozen creators of one kind or another that have tens of thousands of following in their social media. If all these people would share each other's stuff, how much exposure each of them would get. And it's all, they're all writers. It's all about, building up the brand, building up the indie author community, and all these other things, independent creators, and how hard it is to get support from, publishers and all that, and marketing people when you're independent. The amount of good that they could do for themselves by sharing each other's stuff is tremendous, but they won't do it. They just will not do it. It's like retweeting somebody else's stuff or sharing somebody else's stuff is giving up a piece of your soul. It's just, you can feel your soul leave your body. It's that traumatic, evidently, because even when I tell people to do it, even when I tell people they should do it, they won't do it. So I don't know if they're obsessed with keeping their timeline pure with just their stuff. But I can tell you, working along with other podcasters over the past number of years, Twitter has been very good for me. And being involved with other podcasters and other broadcasting groups, sharing each other's content, helping each other understand certain trends, maybe technical trends or marketing trends or content trends, listening habits, things like that. That information has been tremendous. It has been absolutely tremendous, and that exposure has been absolutely tremendous. And why somebody wouldn't take advantage of that, because it not only helps you, but it helps the people that you are working with. It is a win-win. It is not one-sided. So there's just so many ways that you can work with your contacts, work with the shows that you've been on, work with your associates who follow you, and you're both in the same marketplace. There's so many ways that you can use those relationships that are mutually beneficial, as opposed to taking what exposure you get from those associations and running with it. And like I said, it's not only ethically the right way to run your content marketing strategy, but it is also the most effective. And by most people's estimation, that's a good thing. But anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to put together here today on Fireside. I certainly hope you enjoyed this little chat. This was very impromptu. It's something I just kind of threw together. I wanted to get a little bit more practice with the app, because I'm trying to do more on Fireside with the live broadcast. The live aspect of this has been working pretty well. So anyway, that is what I have to say for this evening. This is May 16th, 2023. You can follow me on Twitter. Speaking of Twitter, I'm real easy to find on Twitter at Billy D's on Twitter. So enjoy your evening, and thank you very much for checking in.